Dear entrepreneurs, it's Roberto, and we really need to get over this conversation about saturated markets because it's holding you back for no good reason. I'm dead serious about that. Do you realize that almost none of the successful people that we have conversations about majority of the time were the first people to do anything at all in their industry? When you think about Elon Musk and Tesla, like Tesla Motors was not the first hybrid car company, and not even close, all right? Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, Zucks was not the first person to do a social network, whether you actually know the story or whether you watch the movie. He himself talked about it. Like, what's the point? Like, MySpace already exists and Friendster and blah, 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 blah. It's like, it wasn't even close to being the first person to pursue a social network like that. And it's arguable if it was even the best at its time because it was exclusive to college kids. So it's not even always about being the best at anything. And by the way, as for the first to market theory of if you're not first, you're last, let's think about this. Being first sucks. I want you to understand why being first sucks. When you're first, you absorb all the risk. This is a little bit of a rant, so sorry for that. But you absorb all the risk. You know what, there was this thing back in the 90s that was revolutionary. It was going to change everything. You know what it was called? It's called Web TV. How did that work out? But you gave it 20 years plus for the internet to mature, and all of a sudden, smart TV? Wait, that sounds really familiar. TV that hooks up to the internet? But perish the thought. The reason that this episode of Dear Entrepreneurs is focused around the saturated market conversation is in a lot of the comments, especially on a lot of my recent videos, whether it's about social media or whether it's about growing a YouTube channel or whether it's about businesses, I hear a lot of people saying that the thing that they're most concerned about is how saturated the market is. It doesn't matter. Whenever I decided to do anything I've ever done, the market saturated. The market was flooded. And I was still able to carve out my success there by being authentic and doing me. You know what a lot of that means sometimes though? It has zero to do with being original. Do you realize how many people have talked about how to grow a YouTube channel? And I would make the argument that sometimes my content's better than them because talent is a variable, and affinity and personality is a variable, yes. But there are probably some of you who have had some success with growing whatever you're trying to grow that actually have more charisma, probably are better looking, and are just as knowledgeable as I am, and you could have been successful at doing the exact same thing. The difference was having the courage to pull the trigger. And that's real talk, and I don't say that to be arrogant or dismissive. I'm actually trying to be very encouraging in the fact that there are probably a good percentage of you that are more talented than me at any number of the things that you could compete with me in. And it doesn't matter because something in you is holding you back. And I don't know exactly if there's even anything I can do to help you fix that. I want to believe there is. I want to believe that this series is doing it. I want to believe that my other vlogs have done it. I want to believe that maybe seeing me be successful at empowers you to say, okay, cool, I can do that. I'm better than him at that. Like, I honestly, look, I know designers who beat me up all the time and think that they're better than me and that they're more talented than me and that I don't deserve any of the successes I have. And I go, cool, outmarket me. Cool, out biz dev me. Cool, outwork me. Cool, out empathize with employers and hiring people and out empathize with clients and do better customer service than me. Oh, wait. And that's part of the other variable too, is sometimes how talented you are has nothing to do with your success if you're not addressing the other variables of success. Serendipity matters sometimes. Networking matters. Being a human being and your communication skills. You can be as good as you want at anything. If your communication skills suck, you're probably not going to be successful, and that's just real talk. So whatever you think is the variable of your success, if you think a saturated market is the reason you're not going to be successful, you're dead wrong about that. If you think not having time is the reason you're not going to be successful, you're dead wrong about that. If you think a lack of money and capital is the reason you're not being successful, you're dead wrong about that. I think it mostly is a lack of optimism, as Gary Vee told me when I asked this question on behalf of most of you. But beyond that, I think it's also less than a lack of optimism. You might actually think if you do this, it'll work. It might be the actual courage to take the first step, and maybe that is coming from some other lacking that might be going on. I think that I want to talk about that more. Yesterday's episode was about the courage that success takes. And if you missed that episode, please go back and watch that episode, because I think that one is going to be super important and relevant to this conversation. And if you watched it, maybe you should watch it again for just like keeping the thread going here. But what I want to say about that is I think that having courage sometimes means having support. I think that the people you're surrounded with, I think the experiences we have condition part of our capacity, our capability to be courageous in the face of adversity, in the face of difficulty, in the face of knowing that there's a saturated market that we have to compete in. I think that the people you're surrounding yourself with matter, because if they're feeding you doubt and you're consuming doubt, that's going to make it hard on you. If you're surrounded by people who haven't been successful unless they were the only one playing the game, that's going to matter, because that's illustrating to you how success works and how failure works, and it's a narrative that's not reflective of the actual marketplace. And so that's dangerous, because you've just become a victim of bad storytelling. Oh wait, I want to do something about that. I want to do whether it's a vlog for this or something, I want to do something with the title Victims of Bad Storytelling, or ... are victims of bad storytelling, because I think that matters. I really think that matters. Guys, remind me to do something about that. By the way, in the comment section, tell me if you think you're a victim of bad storytelling, if you think that the hogwash that you've been handed for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years of your life actually held you back. I want to know about that. Do you know what matters a lot more than being the best at what you do? Being the best at what you do that is accessible to a group of people that you care about. Meaning that there are plenty of other people that you could get advice on entrepreneurship or YouTube growth or freelancing or technology or whatever it is that I'm creating value for you in. You could get that from other people. You made a choice to be in a relationship with me for reasons beyond just the information that I'm presenting or even the quality of it. You did it because I'm the relationship you wanted to have for one reason or another. It might be because you feel some affinity with my story and my background and my personality. You might feel in some way that I might be representative of you, or that we have that commonality. You might feel that you could have just as easily been in my shoes or vice versa, and that I might get you. And that's probably true. I think also for some of you, it might matter that I'm one of the only larger level YouTubers that makes a sincere effort to reply to almost every single comment on a regular basis, even when it's not practical for me. So that might matter to you guys in terms of accessibility and feeling like you have that connection or that you have access to tap into me and that I will want to help you, which is true. So that actually might matter more than the quality of my content or the quality of my presentation. Even when I'm doing videos like this that are unpolished, you still are watching and engaging, and sometimes you're engaging more because it is more real to you. It matters more to you. You feel the sincerity, and not that I'm insincere in anything else that I do, but you know when there's less editing, when there's less thought behind the setup, when there's all these things, that you're getting something raw, and that could matter to you. But then also you might feel the connection more. So I think that those things are important. I think that they're overlooked. And I think so many people focus on the narrative because of bad storytelling, that you have to be the best. You have to be first. Don't compete in a saturated market. It's all crap. It's all crap. None of those things are the variable of success. You know what actually is mostly the variable of success? Actually pulling the trigger and just doing the bloody thing. That matters. Like Nike says, just do it. Or better yet, what I say, create something awesome today. Do you realize how much more of a shot you have at being successful if you create a piece of content or you create something of value and you share it with the world, like I keep saying? Do you realize how much more likely you are to be successful than if you don't? I mean, real talk. The most talented people I know are clerks at checkout counters because they have the overwhelming, more than me, ability artistically to do stuff. But on another level, they're so worried about people stealing their artwork or not being credited for it that they lose all the maximum upside that a world of social media and marketing and exposure provides them, to hoard their talent and to not express it and not to create value for other people by their storytelling and their artwork making the world literally a better place, because they could do that, believe it or not. They have that talent, and they're not, and a lot of them are not going to. Now, there are other people whose circumstances have made it to where that's not practical for them to do on a regular basis, and I totally get that. And that's why I do these vlogs sometimes, or I do business development advice and how to bootstrap and how to market yourself with no money, or I need to do something about marketing yourself with no time for those people who are working 12 hours a day, got kids, have a spouse, and are doing that. I need to make some practical content for them, and I plan on that. But I think that all of those things are something that you need to really consider when you're trying to figure out what's keeping you from being successful. The beauty of the internet and the online space is that it's so much a free market and so much of a democracy, and there isn't favoritism or bias. You know what? A lot of you have told me that you feel that YouTube is biased against small YouTubers, and that's why you do things to try to do like for like and sub for sub, and you think that's supporting each other. Do you realize how much more successful you would be if you ignored all of those optics and that bad storytelling and that myth, and you actually realize that there are YouTubers who have 50,000 views with 60 subscribers, but not because they did a viral video, but because they actually understood how YouTube works? Like, that's real talk. And I was a small YouTuber in July 2013 when none of you knew who I was and nobody gave a crap about my content. And you know what I focused on? I focused on being discovered in YouTube. I didn't worry about my subscriber count. I worried about making the best thing I could make and put out into the marketplace, which was already saturated. When I started doing YouTube tutorials, Howard Pinsky was already over 150,000 subscribers. Nathaniel Dodson from Tutvid was already crushing it. There were so many people. Terry White from Adobe, a friend of mine now, was already doing tutorials. And so, like, when I started doing the content that I was doing, there were people who already had 500,000 subscribers already doing the same stuff. The same stuff. The market was saturated for everything I did in this platform. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter because you guys accepted it for what it was. And I had the courage to put it out there because I didn't care about the saturation and I didn't care about the numbers. I cared about doing something cool, doing something awesome, putting it out there, and the marketplace decided. The marketplace said yes. But if you never get off the wall and you never ask the girl to dance, you can't complain that somebody that is not as nice a person as you, or not as talented, or not as empathetic, or not as caring and nurturing as you, took a shot you wouldn't take, delivered half the value, and got 100% of the result. You cannot complain about that if you don't take your shot. You just can't. You can't whine about saturation because you could be the one. You could win, and you decide to opt out of your shot. And that's real talk. And I'm sorry that that's probably going to hurt so many feelings, but it's the absolute truth that you will get the results that you worked for. Not what you deserve, what you worked for, what you earned on the merit of what you did and how the marketplace reacted to it. There are so many people that I think and that I know deserve better than what they have on what they're capable of, but I know that their executions or their ability to put things out there, or that they're holding themselves back, and that's the reason that they don't have what the quality of what they're capable of would entitle to, not even entitled to, what it would earn them, but either their execution is somewhat faulted or labored or like not correct, or they're not paying attention to the right metrics in terms of timing, so that's part of the execution process, or they're not trying to put it out there at all and they're holding off or something like that. And it could be anything you're doing, but it matters. Whether it's your personal life, whether it's your professional life, it's like every time you have a great idea and you don't pitch it, that's not an opportunity to close. You've let that opportunity pass you by. You've let somebody who had an 80% of the same good idea win. So that matters. Every time that you decide that something wasn't good enough to put out, you could have missed the boat. And while you're trying to make it perfect, somebody else made it good enough and they won. And you could have done better. And you should have. And You didn't. And that's important. And I say that also to my past self. That is the message that I would give my past self, because I could have scaled and been successful a lot quicker if I hadn't let the burden of my own doubts and my lack of self-esteem and my lack of trusting my gut and my instincts hold me back from the wins that were rightfully mine. And that is probably one of the most important lessons that I could pass on to anybody, is that I would be infinitely more successful right now if I had trusted myself more, if I had had better storytelling that I was even doing to myself as far as thinking I was worthwhile, and that would have mattered. It would have made all the difference for me to have had the foundations of actual courage, and beyond that, have executed in spite of my fears. I would be in a very different place today, but I have zero regrets, because I'm here with all of you. I have a life that I'm infinitely grateful for, in all humility and all honesty. And so I wouldn't undo anything out of a sense of greed, because the thing is, I could have gained more in the short term, but I don't know that the lessons and the gains that I have in the long term would have been there. And more importantly, I feel my mistakes were necessary for me to be able to empower the rest of you as to what could work and what could allow you to win. I think that distilling the knowledge of my successes and failures for well over the last decade, and being able sometimes to condense that into a 5-minute lesson or a 15-minute rant, is probably more important than if I had just had it easier and won and not learned. So my friends, if the market saturation thing is what's holding you back, and you really honestly think that that's what's keeping you from success, or it's keeping you from starting, do not let that be the reason, because it's all nonsense. And it's all something, I mean, look, when I ran track and cross country, do you know what the interesting thing about that was that you only had to beat your own best time. Because it didn't matter if you got first, second, or third if you were slower than you were the last race. Like, if you were me anyway, that's not what mattered. But, I mean, that's what the real deal was. And do you know how we discouraged other people a lot of times? We would run for about 40 seconds flat out, holding just a little bit back in the tank, and level off, because we put so much distance between us and the majority of the other people who were starting the race that they would be discouraged and would just never imagine that they could catch up. And so they didn't run their best race, because that was an internal mental thing that they were doing to themselves, because they were looking at the market or the top of the market and deciding, I can't run that fast, when it was all an illusion. And that's what market saturation is for you. It's an illusion that's convincing you that you can't win. And I'm here to tell you, it's not true. So, that's kind of where I want to leave it. In the comment section, I want to know if you feel more confident about actually doing the thing that you want to do, and that market saturation is not an excuse to not even try. Let me know if you finally can wrap your head around working past this in the comment section, and I really hope you can. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Please keep staying tuned. I love all the feedback you guys have been giving me on this series. Thank you for those of you who have been sharing it. It means a lot. It's definitely helping a lot of other people with their issues, and I just really want this series to show you guys that you can, in fact, be successful at the things you're trying to do. There are people who will care about it. I care about it. And that you don't have to let perfect be the enemy of good. You can still do quality stuff with where you're at right now. So that's it. And just remember, create something awesome today.